Indeed. So we've managed to get the Nkuhuma Pride. They literally are, I don't even know, maybe 100, 150, not even 100 meters from those buffalo. They're just on the backside of them, watching them. And so this kind of back and forth continues between them at the moment. And so you can see here comes one of the big adult lionesses. Hello, girl. Where do you want to go? You want to squeeze through here? Okay. So you can see she got a bit of a fright because by mistake, when I was leaning on the steering wheel, it moved and made a squeak, and so she got a bit of a fright, and shame. I feel a bit bad about that, but anyway. Now, we're sitting with them, and they're still kind of watching these buffalo. They haven't quite sort of had a go at them, but they're still interested in them. The buffalo are very close, and I think there's a situation where they're starting to get hungry enough that they're going to even attempt maybe a day hunt. And so we're watching these females kind of doing their business and trying to kind of go in, and it seems as though they are all kind of flanking around, because one female we saw disappearing. These are the sub-adults that we're seeing lying in the grass at the moment, so they're not really kind of part of the hunt just yet. But some of the females disappeared going south, some have gone north, and it's almost like they're going around these buffalo now. And I think we might see an epic hunt unfold at some point, if not a hunt, at least a standoff, because this female behind us is very interested in what's going on. I'm actually going to just reverse a little bit so you can just get an idea of just how close these buffalo are. In fact, we're not even 100 meters. I think maybe even 50 is probably a better sort of idea, but I just want to reverse back so that we can see her and the buffalo, which we should be able to. Can I go back there, Dave? Now, Puma, you have a very interesting question. It's all about, there go the buffalo. They're actually walking at the moment. It's all about sort of lions in different parts of Africa and their preferences as to what they eat. Does that sort of show indication of a different culture within lions? So the thing is with lions in different areas, it's more learned behavior than anything else. As cubs, they're learning to hunt certain things because of the fact that they are, in an area where there's an abundance of a certain type of animal. So here in the Sabi Sands, buffalo is the best option that they've got for the sizes of the prides that are here. We have prides that sometimes are quite big, and so buffalo is what they generally specialize in, and they learn how to hunt buffalo from the adults from an early age, and that's what the technique and how they get it right, and that's how they kind of work out what's going on. If you take something like lions in parts of Botswana, where there's very few other animals but elephants, those lions are learning to hunt elephants because that's what they need to survive. And so throughout Africa, it's just learned behavior more than anything else. It's their mothers that are teaching them, and it's also a situation where they're adapting to the environment that they're in. They know that they've only got a certain amount of food that they can get. Now look, they're starting to, I think, be very interested in hunting these buffalo. You can see her demeanor is very different to yesterday when the buffalo were around, and yesterday they were kind of just sleepy. They weren't really interested. Here she's watching very carefully. Now the buffalo are drifting in front of her and kind of towards the left-hand side in that little thicket. So just beyond this grass line is where the buffalo are going. So you can just see them edging through that thicket over there. That's where the herd is now moving, and so that's why she's watching what's going on. And it's going to be interesting to see if she starts to trot behind them. We might have a situation where they're actually going to hunt effectively. The problem is I can't see any other females, so I don't know if she's kind of going at this on her own. If she is going to go on her own, we're going to have a situation where she's probably not going to get it very good at all. Right, we're going to do a quick broadcast, so I'm just going to keep quiet. Good morning and welcome to South Africa and one of the most epic spectacles you could ever ask for in wildlife. My name is Tristan, and on camera I have got Dave, and like I said to you, we are in South Africa and this is a live, interactive situation, and so you can ask as many questions as you would like to. You can just do that in the comment section below. And I was saying we've got one of the most epic spectacles, and that's because, as you can see, we've got a lioness right next to us who's part of a pride. The rest of the pride is split out, and they are busy hunting buffalo. So it is that timeless struggle that has taken place between these two species for many, many, many years. You've got the buffalo that are just drifting in the background. There you go. You can see them kind of in the thickets, looking around, checking what's going on, and then the lions that are watching from this side. Now, this is particular herd and lion combination that we've got here has been chasing each other around now for over 24 hours. So these lions latched onto these buffalo early hours of yesterday morning, and they have now kind of followed them all through the night, and they had a tense standoff last night for most of the night until quite late. And then this morning, it seems as though this starting to kind of take off again, and they look like they might be interested in going after them. The problem is that this lioness is going to need the help of her fellow lionesses in the pride. There's another 4 in this particular pride, and then there are 6 sub-adults as well. So you can see one of the sub-adults that is sitting at the back. These sub-adults, unfortunately, are still too young to really participate in a buffalo hunt, and so she's going to have to rely on her sisters and her aunts and her mother to be able to try and hunt these particular buffalo. Now, Chris, you're asking where the males are. Chris, we don't really know where the males are at the moment. There's a situation where we've got 4 dominant males that oversee this area and this pride, but lately they've been pulled a lot further south of where we are into a different area where there's other females that have come into estrus, and that's left this area exposed, and another 3 males have come in and are trying to take over, young males that are trying to take over. And so we're not really sure where those 3 males are at the moment and where the 4 that are dominant. What I did find when we were tracking these lions early this morning to try and find them and to try and catch up with them after they were following these buffalo all night is that it seems as though 1 male might have joined this particular pride of the 4, and so maybe we'll have a situation where we're going to see a male joining up or appearing out of these thickets pretty shortly. Rio, we are sitting currently, I would say, maybe that lioness is no more than 10 meters from where we are. There's the edge of the vehicle right there. So she is quite close, and she's not very far away from us, but you can see no interest in us whatsoever. So these lions here have been around vehicles for many, many years. They know that the vehicles are not a threat. They know that vehicles are not food, and so they focus on their natural system, and we try and stay out of their way and try not to get into a situation where we are influencing their behavior, where we're stopping them from being able to hunt or anything like that. And because of that, these animals have become very comfortable with us in their presence. And so it's a situation where we're able to be in close proximities and watch these amazing things unfold when they are behind buffalo and stalking and these kind of things. So we're very fortunate that we've got this situation. Whistler, she is a little on the skinny side. She's not very skinny, but she could do with a meal, and the whole pride itself could do with a meal. They are a pride of 11 in total, so 6 sub-adults, 5 adult females, and if the 4 males are around, then, well, 15 lions, and they need a lot of food. To feed that many mouths means that they've got to get food pretty much, or something big like a buffalo every 3-4 days to be able to sustain themselves. But it looks like she's almost giving up now. You see, she's no longer looking at the buffalo. She's kind of decided, well, I don't know if the rest of my females are here, my pride mates, and so she kind of looks as though she might be staying away. Now, I'm going to try and just follow her. Lauren, the sub-adults can probably hunt already and be effective in what they do, but they just don't have the bravery yet. They're still kind of learning the ropes and trying to get into a situation where they know what's going on and kind of learn the technique. But funny enough, these particular sub-adults have already actually killed a buffalo, but it was during a period where we had a very bad drought. And the drought meant that a lot of our buffalo, unfortunately, were not feeding very well, and unfortunately, a lot of them were very weak. And so what happened was the lionesses grabbed one of these buffalo, and because it was so weak, it just fell over, and then the cubs were allowed to come in, and they actually were the ones that tried to kill it, and they were young at that stage. They were only about 6-7 months old, and that's very young for lion-buffalo kind of interaction. But because it was just such a weak buffalo, it was a good learning opportunity, and so they actually have gone after buffalo before. Now, this lioness is coming back out again, so she's there watching the buffalo a little bit of a look. Now, you might notice a vehicle behind them, so there are tourists that come out here to be able to see these animals in person, and so they're lucky enough to be sitting watching what's going on. Good. Well, our lions are still behind the buffalo at the moment. They're not really that interested just yet. They're kind of watching, but haven't really made a move, and so we're going to carry on with them. Hopefully you've enjoyed being with us this morning, and hopefully if anything kicks off again and these lions do start to hunt, we will go live fairly shortly. Right, so our young lioness, or one of our lionesses at least, I think it's the youngest one. Is it the youngest one? Looks like her. She's looking as though she really wants a meal. So she's the one that's kind of moving forward. I haven't seen any of the other adult lions. I know that they're here, given that we've got tracks for them. So they're all around, but it's just where the rest are is difficult to say. What's also interesting with her is that you can see that there's still kind of suckle marks, well, not suckle marks, but you can see her teats where the hair is still starting to try and grow back. And the thing is, it doesn't look like there's any fresh suckling that's been happening. So I think it's maybe safe to assume that that little one is no longer here. I didn't see any cub tracks in the tracks that we were following today. It seems as though she's just kind of been moving around, and I don't think there's any chance of that little cub being with the pride if she's not looking for it and rather is hunting. And I think we have a situation where that cub might not be around. Nikki, she does look desperate. She looks as though she really wants something. She's trying her best, but like I say, it just doesn't seem to be any support from the rest of the pride. I have not seen a single other lioness yet walking around. It's just her kind of pacing up and down, following these poor buffalo. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. The problem is the buffalo are moving the wrong direction. They're moving straight towards Buffelshoek boundary. And so if the lions do start chasing, I don't know how much longer we're going to actually be able to see what's going on. But let's try and keep up with her. She's at least the active individual that is following this herd. So let's try and see where she goes. Right, now, I believe we're all having a good morning so far. Steph with an Well, Brent, we are in a very similar boat. We're also playing the patience game with the Nkuhuma Pride, but the good news is that one by one, the lionesses are coming. Our youngest lioness has been contact calling and almost pleading with the rest of them to get to move on, and we're getting one by one, slowly starting to appear from the drainage lines now, and I wonder if that's going to be a call to kind of action from our lions to say, let's get up and start going and actually try and hunt these buffalo and get ourselves something to eat, because I think all of them are looking a little bit on the hungry side. We have the youngest lioness, then we've got the one with the purple eye that is behind us that should be coming. There's some of the sub-adults, and then I saw what I think is amber eyes in the drainage line as well, still coming our way. So it seems as though they're all here. It's just going to be interesting to kind of see how it unfolds. But here they come. Another one is on its way and going to sit right there. Now let's see how this plays out. Are they all going to wait for each other first before they do anything? Seems like it. Seems like everybody's going to be sitting tight until they regroup and all females are together, and then maybe they'll start to follow those buffalo again. But you can see their ears are far more perked today. They're far more awake than what they were yesterday morning. Yesterday morning, it just seemed like they were not interested in moving, whereas this morning, they seem like they are. Now listen, she's calling. So, very low, faint contact call. Now, hopefully the vehicle will turn off at some point. I'm not sure if you can hear it. So I know it's very, very faint, but she's hardly calling, but it's almost like a desperation plea for the rest to come. Well, that's what you call multitasking. She's calling and yawning at the same time. Now you've got to wonder, is she calling for the rest of them to come and help her, or is it a situation where she's still maybe looking for her cub, or is her cub maybe here? Because remember that this is how they often call their little ones too, so it's going to be an interesting kind of situation to see what goes on. She's still staring behind us. I don't see any other lions coming anymore. Some adults seem to be still kind of behind. They will eventually come. The more she calls, the more they'll come out and the more that they'll appear, and hopefully well, Brenty, well done anyway for at least having a view of Okumuri. It's been a long time since we've seen him, so I'm glad that he's made an appearance, and hopefully he'll come back at some point. Also, hopefully Brent will find some other things. I'm sure he will. Seems to be on a roll this morning, from scavengers to predators, and hopefully more is in the pipeline. Our lions are still sitting, looking desperately towards this drainage line for the rest to come. They're calling constantly, and we can hear the buffalo as well are just drifting slowly but surely further away from where we are. So it's not ideal for these two that maybe are interested in hunting, because the others just don't seem to want to play the game and come with. Shame, girl, are you calling and no one's listening? So, Michael, if this lioness has lost her cub, then in terms of her coming back into estrus would be fairly quick. So she'll come back into estrus within 3-4 weeks. It's not very long after they lose cubs. It sounds silly, but it's a way that nature works, because obviously the lifespan of our wildcats are not very long, and they only have a certain amount of time that they can produce cubs, and so they will try and have as many as they can, and so the body will just kick into estrus very, very quickly, and she'll be able to start mating. Whether or not a male finds her during that estrus is the next question, and it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out, because I think if we have females that are in estrus, it's going to cause a big stir here, because those Avoca boys are going to maybe pick it up and try, and will the Nkuhumas be smart enough to mate with both Avocas and Birminghams in order to just future-proof their cubs? I don't know. It's going to be a very, very interesting situation, so we'll just have to wait and see. The buffaloes sound like they actually might be turning and coming back a little bit. I actually can see some of them through the bush. It looks like there are some of them coming back this way. Maybe her calls are triggering some of the buffalo to turn back in our direction. So they're not very visible at all. I can just see some horns moving every now and then behind a thicket. That's just where that lioness is looking. So I wonder if maybe, just maybe, her calls are kind of getting the buffalo riled up a bit, and the buffalo turning in our direction. But shame, girl, there's no one listening to you. It's a very woeful call this morning. You can almost hear the frustration as she does it more and more. It starts to get louder and more kind of drawn out. Shame. She really is a beautiful individual, though. She's one of my favorites within the Nkuhuma Pride. See, she's also just sniffing the air. The scent of those buffalo will be drifting straight towards her now, because the wind's coming from them. So that's maybe why she just picked her nose up like that, just to smell what's going on. be difficult though if you have to rely on your entire pride to hunt an animal and half of them are not interested. It must make life quite hard. Jared's buddy, no, I don't think the other lioness will comfort her at all. I don't think we'll have a situation where, you know, any of the other lionesses are going to go and rub up on her and kind of sit with her. It's a situation where all these lionesses have lost cubs in the past, and unfortunately it's part of being a wild animal, and they don't have the same kind of way of dealing with things as what we do. You know, we as people tend to be a lot more emotional in some respects than what lions are. Lions, there's this will to survive and this drive to survive, and so as soon as they lose a cub, yes, they have a period where they are constantly calling and there's a perceived sadness in their eyes, but they're soon going to be mating, and their focus will be to survive, to feed themselves, and also to now produce another litter. And so the other lionesses won't go and comfort her for any other reason. They won't go, I mean, they'll bond with her and they'll rub up against her and they'll, you know, be part of the pride, but they're not going to give her any extra special attention than she would have had when she still had cubs around. So now it seems like this other lioness is also starting maybe to contact call, which is good news. So the more that they do it, hopefully the more it will rile up the others and get them going. And the buffalo are also still bleating and bellowing in the distance. So while we kind of wait for this to unfold, let's send you back across to Steph, who I believe is staring into a puddle. Now, unfortunately, Steph seems to be having a little problem with his mic and his audio, so you're back with us and our lions, who are slowly but surely kind of, I don't know if they're willing to want to get up because there's yawning going on, there's a bit of grooming happening, and so I wonder if there's a situation where they're thinking about maybe getting up and going and trailing these buffalo a little more, or if they're going to go back down to the drainage where the rest of the pride is. But they seem as though they're getting prepped a little bit. But you can see this lioness that's grooming herself. Look at the amount of mud on her paws. They obviously were having a full go at these buffalo at some point, and they're covered in dirt and sand. And see, she's calling now as well. I think they want the whole pride to come together. There's a situation where both lionesses are calling, and it's interesting to me because normally the sub-adults come when they call like this. The sub-adults normally are the ones that will come trotting up just to see what's going on, but nobody is moving. I don't know if maybe there's something that they're scared of. Maybe these sub-adults got chased by buffalo and they're still a bit nervous. I'm not quite sure. Shame, she's still calling. I was just hoping that we would get to see the rest of them coming out all together and then moving as a pride, but it just doesn't seem like that any of the others are responding to these two's calls at this stage. Now, looking at them this morning, they're not, I mean, they're skinny, but they're not desperate. I've seen lions in far worse state than this. They definitely could do with a meal, but they're not in dire straits just yet. And so, as much as I think they want to hunt, very noisy this morning. Shame, my girl. Are you hungry? plenty. I'm also surprised. I always think about that with vultures, is why they don't hit each other's eyes. You would think that they would. There's not really much protection there for the eye itself, but it seems as though they work it out and they get it right. But you can see Nkuhuma Pride is up and moving. The entire pride is kind of walking up into these long grass thickets, and I'm not sure why they've moved up here. It's a situation where we've got, not really, the buffalo didn't go this way, so it's not like they're trailing the buffalo at the moment. They just got up and decided this is where they wanted to lie down, and it seems as though most of the adults are now lying down, and hopefully we're going to see a situation where, they'll get up again and carry on. But you can see with this young male, now that he's actually out, sorry Dave, I've just seen him come past now, but this guy, you can see, look at his belly, he's got a big round tummy. So our young boy managed to get most of whatever they killed, and then one of the other sub-adult females is also as round as they come. She's got a nice big belly too. So they must have killed something small last night, maybe a young impala or something like that, or a young buffalo. Between all of them wouldn't really make too much of a dent, but there's definitely some that are fuller than others, and so it's good that they at least got some semblance of a meal. They still look like they could do with more, but at least they've got something in their tummies, and that's going to help them as they go. I'm just trying to see kind of what's going on. It looks like all the adult girls are lying down behind me, besides, well, not all of them, but 3 of them are lying behind me. And so they look as though they've decided that's it for the day. They don't want to do anything more. They're kind of busy grooming themselves. You can see one is already on its side, sleeping. Although, there we go, the buffalo just bellowed. And we've got a situation where they're kind of putting up their heads a little bit just to listen. So we've got the eldest lioness here, we've got the youngest lioness, and we've got the one that's got the little eye injury at the moment. And it seems as though Amber Eyes is up in front, as is typical with this pride. She generally is the one that moves and everybody else follows. So it was interesting to watch, because the other two were calling. All the sub-adults came out, and then we had the lioness, the eldest lioness came with the sub-adults, and then we had the lioness with the injured eye, and Amber Eyes bringing up the rear. And as soon as she walked through the middle of the pride, everybody else stood up and started to walk. So it's almost like they follow her more than anything else. It's an interesting kind of thing. I always just thought it was coincidence, but it's definitely they respond to her. As soon as she comes through the pride, everybody is up and moving. You can see as she's in the front, then everyone kind of gets up to follow what's going on. Interesting. Very, very interesting. But it looks like they're going to settle for a little bit. Maybe they've decided the long grass is a better place for them than being out in the open like they were and very close to those buffalo. And they've decided that this is where they would rather be for now. It's not very good for us, though, because the grass is very, 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 very long in this area. I'm just trying to think. I would like to get to where they are at the moment, but I think I'm going to have to go quite a long way around to get to that area, unless, of course, this sub-adult here gets up, which she is going to do. So hopefully we can get around and have a situation where they all kind of move, because this is the best path to go through where that lioness is standing. Good. Now we have lions walking through a long grass, and we also have another incredible specimen of a animal, Stefan Winterberg, who's walking through the long grass as well. I think it's now nap time again. It amazes me with lions. They were walking so purposefully, and they were kind of head down, sniffing, and they were really walking fast. And all of a sudden, they reached this little point and decided that's it. And they just all lay down and have flopped down and are now decided, I think this is where they're going to stay for the day. It always amazes me with lions when they do this, because you think like they're going somewhere and they really want to be somewhere. And all of a sudden they just see a branch and they're like, oh, that looks good, let's just lie down there. And so they've kind of found themselves this little shady bush willow spot, and everybody's getting in underneath it and trying to have a bit of a nap. So I think that's going to be it in terms of activity from the Nkuhuma Pride today. They've walked away from where the buffalo are as well, so it's not like the buffalo are going to come back in this direction. So it's going to be interesting to see how, like I say, how it all plays out. Also, what's happening is the sun is starting to come out, and the sun's got a little bit of a bite to it, and that's maybe what's convinced them to lie down, because they were kind of moving, and then they just decided when the sun came out that that's it, we're going to sit right here. But also another thing I've noticed with the Nkuhumas, watching them as they've been walking around, is that they seem to have gone through a rough time, all of them. All of them have got little cuts and scrapes and scars, even the sub-adults. So I wonder if maybe they didn't kind of been fighting amongst each other because they've been struggling to find big kills. Maybe that's what's been happening, is that they've had a situation where they've been fighting amongst each other over, small carcasses, and that's why there's little cuts around the eyes, because two of the sub-adults have nasty little gashes under their eyes and around their eyes, and then there's lots that have got little scars on their necks and bum areas, and so it seems as though there was a little kind of altercations amongst them. Now, that particular one is looking as though it's taking it very easy on top of the termite mound, almost like king of the castle at this stage. So what I want to do is just try and position ourselves so we can actually see that one better, because the rest are all so sleepy, we're not going to get much out of them. So let's just try and get round so we can actually see that individual a little better. We can see it now and not have it just its tail. Hopefully can get its head as well, and shoulders. There was another one that was facing us on that mound at one point and then just got up as you guys came back to us, so it happens like that. And I see there's also a lioness lying, or sub-adult lying where I wanted to go, but anyway, we'll find a way through here, and hopefully there'll be a situation where we'll get a nice little gap. Dave will have to tell me when he gets it. There we go, that should be quite nice. Bridget, no, I don't think so. That injury to that lioness's eye, well, if you're talking about the one that's got the little cuts as a... Oh, no, don't... So lion's getting off. Sorry, Bridget. Basically, the thing is, if you're talking about the one that's got the little cut that we saw yesterday, no, she should be fine. That should just heal up, and her eye should be absolutely perfect. If we're talking about the lioness that's got that kind of glossed eye, or that purplish colored eye, yes, her eye vision is probably severely affected by that, and probably in all likelihood wouldn't really be working very well. But cats can still survive just as well on one eye. They're still able to see well enough to hunt and to be able to grab food that they need. I've seen many leopards with one eye, many lions with one eye. It's a common thing, and they generally are able to kind of still do the job and find what they need and survive like that. So they're all okay. They're not going to be a situation where they're going to have a problem with their sight. You'll just find that one is going to probably just have a bit of a sort of less sight than some of the others have got. That's all. But still effective enough to hunt and to be able to find what they need. Now, it seems as though everybody has found themselves a shady spot. I don't think there's much happening. There's Amber Eyes who's just popped up her head. She's looking as stately as ever behind the little termite mound, and she really is looking good at the moment. She's big and healthy, and hopefully she'll be able to help with bringing down one of these buffalo, a big buffalo, and that this pride can feed off it for quite some time. I was thinking about them and wondering if maybe the reason they're not on that elephant is not only because they're not just used to elephant meat, but maybe it's also a situation that they're a bit nervous of being on that carcass and some of the other males arriving. So you never know if the Avaka boys will arrive. The last big carcass they had that we know of was that buffalo in Buffelshoek, which they got chased off quite promptly. So it's maybe a situation that's why they're nervous to head back to this elephant carcass, is because they think potentially they might get chased off it and risk the cubs or the sub-adult's safety, and so that's maybe why they're a little kind of nervous. Good. Well, I think what we're going to do is we're going to leave the Nkuhumas now. They really aren't going to do much from here. The sun's come out, and it is seriously warm when the sun is out, and so I'm pretty sure all of these lions are going to have a little nap and have a little rest now. I don't think they're going to move nearly as much as what they were earlier, and the grass is so long here that we really can't see too much of them anyway. So we'll probably leave them, let them have a good nap, and then we'll try and come back